All right, welcome back to our new channel. This is episode 3 of the Owl House, and I'm actually going to be the only voice that's recording because Chris is in the Pacific Northwest and there's a huge heat wave and he has fans running all the time, so he couldn't record. And I luckily am in California where it's not hot for some reason. So super excited for this episode. It is King's backstory episode. I'm also recording this on Sunday night, so you can imagine all of the ways I've been dodging spoilers from other YouTubers, and it looks like it was a little bit impactful, so I don't know, I'm just excited to see what happens. Oh, young Ida already? Oh, this is interesting. I was looking to see if Amity's necklace was gonna be gone as an update after last episode, but I guess not. Oh my god, Lilith.
Watching the ink dry is the best part.
Okay, this'll work for sure. Now you see me. Now you don't.
What?
I guess it only lasts.
The king of demons yields to no one. Historically, Porta Hooty reporting for Hooty.
The only mystery is how Lilith can be so smart and so wrong at the same time. Academics, am I right?
You so are. Come on in.
Okay.
The chamber where I would devour the
At
hearts
the
of my
temple.
foes.
What are these things?
They look like mummies. I like the music. Ooh, and it has the same like flesh magic that Bello seems to have. I don't necessarily like that tribal music is being used to show a monster on an island, but I like the music itself. Oh, so cute.
King! King! Please come back!
But there is something weird about this
The tree
island.
cover is too.
You sure they'll be all right? This one is old. Very old.
Did you carve and date it, Lilith? How do you know that?
And can we keep him?
No.
Yes!
What you doing there, King? Time good night.
Wait, so where does Lou sleep now? All right, so that's gonna be it for this episode. My first reactions are that it's super cute, and I love that they're showing that they're there for King. And yeah, it was like a chill episode, but it was nice and it set up some mysteries, so hopefully those will be paid off this season. Okay, so welcome to our post season 2, episode 3 convo. We're doing this the next day, I think, or 2 days later. I've lost track of time. Time is a construct. So changing tracks to the things that keep me sane during these crazy times. The Owl House. Let's talk about what our thoughts were post episode 3. So Chris, do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, I have to say, this episode I absolutely loved. I, of course, love King because he is just so adorable all the time. And I was very curious about his background. The animation, too, was super pretty this time. I don't know why I noticed it more this time around, but it was just top-notch, I think.
Yeah. So about this episode, first I actually want to backtrack because there's something I've been meaning to say about the season as a whole, and I keep forgetting, so I don't want to forget again. And that is, I am absolutely loving Luz Nocera. As a protagonist, as a character, I just want to make sure that Luz gets her props. I think that they've really settled into her voice and she's coming through really strong and consistent. And aside from the writing, like, I just love what they've been doing with her. I think it's easy to lose track of protagonists because we see the story through their eyes. So we almost identify with them and don't see them as someone separate from ourselves. Like it's kind of harder to appreciate them as characters in their own right. But yeah, I just wanted to take some time to appreciate Luz. Like from episode 1, she's coming in with like this amazing glyph magic. They really did a good job of showing how much she's progressed. She's caring and compassionate towards the people around her. I love the role that she has in her family. Like she feels mature and that she cares about the people around her and that she's an asset to the people around her, but she still clearly makes mistakes, as we talked about with the first episode, of like thinking that she has to pay people back for the things that they do for her, and just constantly kind of getting herself in trouble trying to save everybody, as she does in the second episode. Yeah, I love how compassionate and kind she is, and how brave she is, and how competent she is at what she has chosen to do. I think competence goes a long way. She's really great at glyph magic. So segueing that into discussion of this episode, I really liked the exploration of Luz and King. I think King can be inconsistently age characterized or age coded, which is kind of just weird for me. Like you have episodes where he's playing on the playground, then you have episodes where he's like enjoying being a teacher at school and lording it over the other students. And so it was kind of hard to get a feel for like how he was relating to Ida. Was he like her old grumpy best friend, or was he like more of a ward of hers? So I don't know, like I'm not saying any of that has disappeared, but I liked in this episode that he was really kind of characterized almost as like Luz's younger brother. Like I really like seeing her in this like caring role towards King. And again, kind of like making mistakes of just being like, yeah, we'll just go along with whatever he says, we're gonna go with him. And then having that really hurt King and having to find other ways to support him. I thought that was really sweet.
Yeah, no, I think you hit it right there on the nail with saying that he's kind of presented more as her little brother this time, you know, instead of kind of this nebulous, like, is he an adult or is he a child sort of thing that's been going on for the past season or two. So I definitely agree with that.
I would also like to say that they continue to do an amazing job with Lilith and Hooty.
Okay, so this episode, part of what I absolutely loved about it is they came back to like that mild horror that really drew me in on the first season. You know, you have with Hooty getting out of his house, you know, or the door or whatever, and he's leaving behind this like pulsing mass of organs and then those weird monster things that were going on. But yeah, I am just enjoying Lilith and Hooty and their interactions, and the fact that he was, you know, in that backpack and then she was using him as a grenade launcher was just too funny.
Yeah. I know that some people may be like, oh, are we supposed to forgive Lilith this quickly? Yes. I am not holding grudges. I recognize that she did a bad thing and she's trying to make up for it, and that is good enough for me. That's good enough for me to give her a chance, and they're doing, like, to me at least, they're doing everything they need to do to not only make her sympathetic, which I think is cool, but they're also, I mean, I guess we'll have to see how it develops throughout the season, but I think they're also doing a good job of her showing, her like trying to make amends with her sister and repair that relationship. Like you see that a lot, and that's kind of a focus in the first episode, and then the other episodes after that aren't a super focus of it, but she seems to be all in the owl house, and I love like the very first shot of her this episode is her literally watching ink dry and being super excited about it and having like hair all over the place, and that she's kind of gone crazy like studying these glyphs. Now that doesn't show that she's completely changed. I guess she could be tempted to return to the Emperor's Coven with all of her new glyph magic expertise. But so far it seems like she's really doing what she can to support the Owl House and support Ida. So I think that's pretty cool.
I think, you know, we should give her a chance. You know, she's trying her best.
Yep, she made the sacrifice, half a sacrifice play. She didn't completely sacrifice herself, but she ended last season sacrificing her health, certainly, and her place in the Emperor's Coven. And now what I like is that that's not the end of her arc, that now we're actually seeing what comes after that redemptive moment and seeing her like try to atone for what she's done. So
Yes.
Cool. So what did you think of King's backstory?
I thought it was very sad, and just his whole his whole life, being a lie, and I don't know. I'm interested to see what happened to the demons and his dad, and I'm kind of wondering, is there any relation to the flesh magic that we saw? What was his name? The Golden Knight?
The Golden Guard.
The
Yeah.
Golden Guard.
Yeah.
His flesh magic and those weird, I don't know if they got a name, but the weird monster things that were protecting King. Is there any relevance to that? Did the Emperor, mess with his King's dad? I'm just very curious to see where that goes.
Yeah. The flesh magic is definitely a huge clue. A clue to what? I don't know. I'm not like someone who looks at mysteries and tries to untangle them. So I'm not here crafting theories. You're more theory focused than I am. But definitely the fact that we've seen the Emperor use flesh magic, and then we saw the Golden Guard use flesh magic, and now we see that basically that entire castle seemed to run on flesh magic, and definitely
Yes.
the things that were chasing them. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think there's something there.
I don't think this. Actually, I guess this kind of gets into ranking. I was just gonna say that I like this as a setup of mystery episode. I don't think it was as impactful to me as episode 2, and I'm trying to trying to figure out why, because it definitely had some really interesting character stuff. But I think it had character backstory as opposed to characters making decisions that change who they are in the present, which is what we got to see last episode with Amity. I don't think King made a lot of decisions in this that changed who he is, or maybe I'm just not as invested in King's character. I don't know, because you could argue that he made the decision to face his past and think of things differently from now on. But yeah, it felt more like that was pushed on him. That was a scenario that he had to respond to because E.R.F finally told him what was going on, and I appreciate how he responded. But I don't think it has the same sense of forward momentum on an episode like last week's had. I don't know. Just trying to pinpoint why I like the episode, but I'm not as hyped about it as I was about episode 2.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point, and it's more kind of a look back than a character changing moment. But I'm sure that it will have ramifications further on in the season.
Yeah, I definitely think it was a solid episode. If you're going to communicate backstory that then's going to impact the rest of the season, as I imagine it will, I think this was a good way to do it. It had enough of a character arc for King and really great character interactions between King and Luce, and then you have your background stuff with Lilith and Hooty, and then even Ida coming in was great.
Yeah.
So I think it definitely carried its weight.
For sure.
And I also want to say that I love their family dynamic, all of them together. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, no, I love that they kind of have little cliques going on, with Lilith and Hooty and King and Luce, but and then Ida and Luce and Ida and King, and I guess Ida's kind of the overarching connecting of everything, because you also have Ida and Lilith. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this dynamic, and as I've probably said before, found family is one of my favorite tropes, so it's just great to see. Yeah,
it's definitely found family, but I like that it's not just found family, it's found family living in a house together. There's something about the fact that they all have to live together that I'm finding really endearing. At the end of the first episode when Ida was let's order something. They're just kind of bickering about what they're gonna order, and King's I want to order crackers, and he's we're not ordering crackers. And then in this one where Ida comes downstairs and it's oh, they made a mess everywhere, but at least they're out of the house and I get to relax. I'm just loving the dynamics of them living in the same house together, and they just really feel like a family. I love it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that leads us perfectly into the synopsis, or the synopsis, I guess, for the next episode. I don't know if you know this, but that a long-lost relative is going to visit the owl house and put a strain on everyone's relationships. And from the promo, it's an older woman who looks very much like a Clawthorn, so everyone's thinking, man, this is their mom. Is going to visit the owl house next episode. Any predictions? How do you feel about that?
Oh goodness. Will certainly be interesting to see how that fits into this little family dynamic that we have going on here, and also, curious to see what the mother thinks of Lilith cursing her other daughter. If it is her mother. So, yeah, that'll be definitely interesting.
Yeah, man. And you can tell, the woman, the character design has a coven mark on her wrist. So she's definitely tied into this coven system. I guess Lilith was too. So I can't imagine that she's going to be super happy that both of her daughters are now covenless witches out in the Owl House woods with a human. Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
And I feel like they probably had some interesting things in mind for a while. Maybe not, but I just remember episode 5 of season 1 where they went as convention, where they went to the coven thing, and Luz is I love backstories. You have a sister, why didn't you tell me? At the end of the episode.
Yeah.
And Ida's I haven't even told you about my mother yet. So that's why I'm ooh, what are we gonna get with the mom? All right, so episode ranking on a scale of 1 to 5, what would you give this episode and why?
I probably get, as much as I absolutely love King and I love seeing his backstory and the horror and just all that sort of stuff, I think it's, kind of a 3.5, 4. It didn't really move the season along as much as just give us, more color to our character and potential, stuff to think of in the future.
Yeah. Well, if I was covering, I was thinking about this comparison rankings. If I was hovering between a 3.5 and a 4 for the first episode of the season, I would have to say that this one then is a 3. Because I didn't like it as much as I liked the first episode of the season, but I thought it was solid, did exactly what it needed to do. Just to kind of explain these rankings, yes, it's the 1 through 5 stars that we commonly use, but I'm also thinking of it in the terms of standard-based grading and education, because I work as a teacher by day. And a 3 is you met the standard, you did everything you needed to do, where everything above a 3, the 4s and the 5s are you exceeded expectations and you did better than that.
Yep.
And so this episode to me is a solid 3. It does everything it needs to do. It's hard to tell the quality of it because clearly it's laying groundwork, it's setting things up that won't be paid off in this episode, and that will have to be paid off down the line. So it's probably an integral part of the season, but as a standalone episode, it doesn't have a lot of hype in its own because it does have to do a lot of that setup work. So yeah, as much as I liked learning a little bit about King's backstory, it's not the sort of backstory that changes what we know about King, right? It's not it doesn't reveal a ghost. So if I'm thinking about backstories, where I learned about the concept of backstories was this YouTube video about Avatar: The Last Airbender, for example. And so you see this flashback episode that parallels Aang and Zuko, and you see Aang's backstory of the moment that he chose to leave the Air Temple and run away from the Air Temple and run away from his duties as Avatar because he wasn't ready, and he wasn't ready to be separated from Monk Gyatso. And then you see Zuko's backstory, and you get to see the moment where he stood up to a general who wanted to sacrifice Fire Nation service members and was oh, you can't do that, and ended up getting into an Agni Kai with his father and got burned for it, right? And so those moments reveal and tell you more and add layers to the characters' motivations in the present and why they're doing what they're doing and how they see themselves and how they see their mission. This King backstory didn't do that. It wasn't a reveal of a ghost. It was just kind of a reveal of a backstory.
Yeah.
So that was just not bad. I'm just saying that if it had been reveal of a ghost, something like this, or I know you haven't seen it yet, but something like the episode that Adora and Catra are caught in the Crystal Castle and are reliving their memories. That's a knockout episode, where this is more just yep, it's setting things up, we'll see where it goes from here, and that's interesting. And in the meantime, we got these amazing, just endearing family dynamics between all the characters. So that was a long way of saying it's a 3 for me, and I'm looking forward to more of the season.
Yeah, no, I think you laid that out perfectly. That's exactly how I feel as well.
Cool. We should cut that out. That's not cool. All right, so thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Thank you so much for listening to this breakdown of episode 3, even though it's a little bit late. And look forward to hearing from all of you in episode 4. Let us know what you thought of the episode down in the comments. What was your reaction to Baby King when you first saw him show up? Where do you think King's father went, and what do you think's gonna happen in the rest of the season? Let us know. And we're still a small channel, so we definitely respond to comments. So yeah, look forward to hearing from all of you. All right, signing off.
All right, bye.